Here we are at the World Steam Expo with Pop Haydn and his lovely wife Nancy. Thank you for sitting in for an interview with me, folks. Pop, you are a remarkable performer, and when I realized the caliber of a performer that they had here at the World Steam Expo, I was just blown away. You're six-time Magician of the Year at the Magic Castle in Hollywood, which is basically the Academy Award of magicians, and just an incredible performer. Can you tell me how you got your start in magic?
Well, when I grew up in Clarksville, Tennessee. I was a preacher's kid, and there was an old man in his 80s in the neighborhood, and this was in the 50s. I was a big fan of Wyatt Earp, Hugh O'Brien, at that time,
yeah.
Wyatt Earp. And this old man had been a professional gambler his whole life and claimed to have known Wyatt Earp in Los Angeles. And it's very possible because Wyatt Earp was in L.A. until the 1930. He died in about 1930. And he was a consultant for the movie. So this guy, he was a total reprobate. He drank whiskey straight out of the bottle, chain smoked cigarettes, and cussed like a sailor. And so naturally, as a preacher's kid, I gravitated toward his society. And he taught me a few little things like how to deal cards and shuffle cards and how to do the shell game and, a few other things like that, which I found very interesting. And that's what kind of got me interested and started in the magic thing.
I was watching you do the shell game last night, and I know how it's done, and repeatedly I saw it, and I went, I know where the P is, but dang it, I would put money down on it being elsewhere. You are a virtuoso with magic.
Thank you very much.
And I was just, like I said, blown away by your performance. What is your favorite illusion?
Well, I like a lot of magic and a lot of different things. I like close-up magic with the cards and coins and stuff like that. I like stage magic just as well. I'm not a big fan of the big illusions, which, the cutting a lady in half, those kind of things. I like the sleight of hand. So on stage, I guess my favorite illusion is the linking rings, which is a trick I've done since I was a young kid and have my own routine with. And it's a 2,000-year-old magic trick from China, and it still amazes people today.
And they still laugh at the jokes.
They still do.
I laughed at them every time I heard them.
Good.
What was the first illusion you learned?
I think the first one was like the shell game. I mean, that was one of the first things I ever learned to do.
Yeah, you mentioned cards, shell game.
Cards, as far as magic, I guess the first before I met that guy when I was even younger, there was a missionary and his wife that came to stay with us for a few days, and he did a trick for me when I was about 6, where he made smoke appear out of his fingers. He'd go like that and smoke.
Oh, right.
Well, he taught me it was basically spirit gum, and he would put spirit gum on his fingers, and then when he pulled his fingers apart, it would make a little filament.
Right.
Smoke-like filament that would float up into the air. It looked like smoke. It was just kind of like a little glue filament. And you'd make a bunch of those and it would like float up. And that was like fascinating to me.
I actually bought some smoke-making stuff when I was a kid. I didn't realize it was spirit gum. Now I know the secret, and so does everyone else.
Well, he used it when he dressed up like a gaucho, because he was a missionary from Argentina. So when he would do his lectures, he would dress up like a gaucho and put on a fake mustache.
Right.
He used the spirit gum for that, and that's why he was doing that.
How old were you when you did your first trick?
Well, that was 6, when I was 6. But when I started doing magic when I was 9, really started actually learning magic. And I guess by the time I was 13 or 14, I was doing shows for the local Optimist Club and, Rotary and all of those kind of places.
I have to ask now, 9 years old, you couldn't have been going by Pop Haydn then.
No, my name was Whitney.
Whitney.
Whitney is my grandfather's name. And I was Whitney Haydn.
Okay, so Whitney Haydn was...
Pop, people started calling me Pop about 5 or 6 years ago when I had grandkids.
Oh, okay.
I started getting grandkids, and the younger magicians, kind of were kidding me, calling me Pop and stuff like that. But
Now, there was a little magic illusion, or I don't know what you'd call it, but you worked some magic that I was just very impressed by. I loved the rings. Mm-hmm. I loved the card tricks. Forgive me for calling them tricks. The illusions.
That's okay. Yeah, that's fine.
The peas and such. You know, the shell game. But this lovely lady on your right. Mm-hmm. How in the world did you perform that one?
Well, that was funny. She was a passenger on a cruise ship going through the Panama Canal, and I was one of the performers on, it was the Sagafjord, a Cunard ship. I was one of the performers, and I had a really killer performance. I just like smashed the audience completely. So I was in a very good mood, went down to the disco, and I saw this pretty girl sitting there, and she smiled at me, and I smiled back at her, and you know, I thought, she obviously saw my show. She's very impressed. So that gave me the nerve to go up and ask her to dance, you know. And it turns out that she actually hadn't seen my show. I had no idea who I was. And had she known I was a magician, may have queered the whole deal.
And how did your family react to that, Nancy?
They were a little surprised at first. I think at first they were surprised to find out I had met someone on the cruise. And then I think they were a little surprised that he was one of the performers. But once they got to know him, they just absolutely loved him, and they really, you know, are glad to see that we're together and that we're happy together, and they just love him and his show and everything.
Now, Pop, you have been all over the world performing. What did you think of the World Steam Expo?
Oh, we've had a wonderful time. You know, my show, I started working in about 94 on the shell game and stuff, putting out books on the shell game and doing research into history, and became fascinated with the 19th century, especially the last half of the 19th century and the early part of the 20th century. And I decided I wanted to do a vaudeville type medicine show act, and started working on that. I first put on the costume about 2005 and started doing the character. And actually I had worked for 30 years without an accent. I learned when I was a kid. When I was about 22, I took lessons becoming an actor, and I learned to drop the accent. I didn't work with it for a long time. The only time Nancy ever heard me talk with a southern accent was when I was on the phone to my mom. And she would always know where I was. Hi, Mom, how are you? No, I'm fine. No, I'm fine. You know, everything's good. I'd talk like that for another hour or two after the phone conversation was over. Well, I was asked to do the shell game on the streets of Melody Ranch, where they have the big cowboy festival in Santa Clarita. That was Gene Autry's ranch, where they did all the Gene Autry movies. And it was where they did the filming of Deadwood, the HBO story Deadwood. And so I thought this was great. I'll do the shell game out on the streets. I'll dress up in an outfit, and I'll adopt some kind of Western accent or something. Well, that became a lot harder than I realized to, you know, come up with a Western accent. So I basically pretty much started doing impression of my own grandfather from Virginia.
Oh, wow.
And he was from southwestern Virginia. And it was kind of an archaic accent, a lot thicker than most people have today in that area of the South. But it was really amazing the way it drew attention and cut through the clutter. And people came over just to see, well, who's this guy? What's he talking? Because I have a pretty big voice, and with a thick Southern accent, you know, it just drew people. And I thought, well, this is really pretty interesting. So as I worked on this character, I incorporated that Southern accent. Now I can't get rid of it. I can't. I have to really concentrate to talk without an accent now, because it's like a warm bath to me. It's, you know, I don't have to think about what I'm saying.
I have to ask you, who is this Mr. Robin Marx that you love so dearly?
I love Robin Marx. Well, this is a carnival t-shirt. I started out when I was in college. I worked in the summer at the traveling carnivals and stuff. And I talked for the Spidora, the lady with the head of a woman and the body of a spider.
Oh, wow.
I used to draw people into that tent. And I learned a lot doing that kind of stuff about show business. And Robin Marx is is a term that the carnival people use to send people to when there's a beef, when somebody complains, this guy at the ripped me off at the balloon dart thing. You know, who do I talk to? I want to get my money back. He didn't give me what I was supposed to get. I said, oh, Robin Marx is in charge of that. He was over at the mess tent. Robin Marx, and Robin is a verb.
Right.
I love Robin Marx is what they're saying. If they go, no, Robin's not over here. I go over there. I think Robin's over at the front, you know.
Robin Marx is everywhere.
Robin Marx is everywhere. They just send him on a wild goose chase till the guy loses interest in his beef.